Activity 2. Graphing equations from their equations. This activity is part of Unit 3, Properties of Quadratic Relations. Let's compare linear relationships with quadratic relationships. A linear relationship is represented by the equation y equals mx plus b. Here's a Cartesian plane. This straight line represents a linear relationship. This point, where the line crosses the y-axis, is known as the y-intercept. The y-intercept is represented by b in our equation y equals mx plus b. In this situation, b would be equal to 2 because it crosses the y-axis at y equals 2. A quadratic relationship is represented by the equation y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 0. This is important because if a was 0, it would cancel out the x squared. If this was cancelled out, we would be left with bx plus c, which looks like the equation mx plus b, which would be a linear relationship. This is the shape of a quadratic relationship. It creates a curve called a parabola. Parabolas can be open upwards or downwards, as we'll see later on. It also has a y-intercept. For quadratic relations, however, the y-intercept is represented by c in the equation y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. In this case, we can see that c would be negative 1, 2, 3. It would be negative 3. C would be equal to negative 3. So, y equals mx plus b is for a linear relationship, and y equals ax squared plus bx plus c is for a quadratic relationship and creates a parabola when it's graphed. Graphing quadratic relationships by using a table of values method. Here's an example. We're going to graph y equals x squared. First step is to set up a table of values. Here's our table of values. Our first column will record the x values we use to find out the y values that we'll record in the second column. For a quadratic function, we have to choose at least 5 x values. Here are x values that we're going to use for this example. Notice that I'm using a few negative ones, I'm using 0, and a few positive ones. Also notice that each one of these values is spaced by equal intervals.